now that we understand the basics of Swing, I think will be a good time to start building applications using Swing. We're going to create this flashcard application. Probably have used flashcards before. So essentially the idea is to have a flashcard and you write a question on one side and on the other side you have the answer. So we're going to emulate a real flashcard. So here's a little demo. So we're going to run it. So we'll have two parts of the app. The first part is this, where we create the flashcard, which means we need to have a question. So let's say, where's Mozambique located? Okay, and we can put an answer, say Africa. And we're gonna go ahead and say next card. We can say, what's your name? Very simple. We can say James. Let's say, who is James? Say he. All right. And we're going to go ahead and save this file here. Put it in desktop. I'm going to say quiz 1. Save. And there we go. It created this text file with where's Mozambique, all the questions, and we have the answers. That's good. So now, if we open the flashcard player, okay, let's run this. The flashcard player will allow us to load card set. In this case, we put it in desktop. It's quiz 1. We're going to open that. And right away, we have the question. Okay, where is Mozambique located? Africa. Say next card. What's your name? James. Next card. Who's James? He. Next card. And it says that was the last card because we actually only had 3 cards or 3 questions and answer. So this is the application we are going to build. So I went ahead and created a new. I'm very excited. So let's get to cards as opposed to flashcards. So just flashcards to differentiate it. That way we don't get errors when creating this project. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and do the same. And of course, I went ahead and created the flashcard builder.java. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, we always do this. We are going to create, actually right here, let's create a flashcard constructor here. Okay, this is where we are going to build the user interface. Okay, all right. Now, before we do that, we are going to create some instance variables here. So we're going to say private text area. Okay, we're going to call this question because that's where our question is going to be. Say private again, text area. It's going to be answer. That's where we are going to input our answer. We're going to create an array list of flashcards. So we haven't created the actual flashcard class, but nonetheless, we're going to just create it now. So we're going to say array list. And of course, of what type, we put here flashcard. Okay, so it's going to be an array list that will hold flashcard objects. We're going to call this card list. Okay, and we're going to have an error because we haven't created this class here, which is fine for now. And of course, let's create our JFrame because that's very important. It's going to be JFrame. What are we going to call it? Just going to call it frame. Why not? All right. So while we're here, let's go ahead and create a flashcard class. So new class we're going to create, it's going to be called flashcard. Okay, that's fine. We don't have to put anything for now. That will happen soon. All right. So at least we got rid of that error we were having there. Perfect. So we have that. And while we're here, let's go to our main and put that code that we have always had here. We're going to say swing util that invoke later. It's going to be a runnable. So new runnable inside. So this is our entry point. So we're going to say new flashcard builder. Essentially, this is going to run our builder here, flashcard builder constructor. All right, perfect. So now let's go ahead and start putting together our user interface. So first of all, of course, the first thing we need to do is to set up the frame. Okay, let's get new JFrame. We're going to give it a title of flashcard Then we're gonna set this to make sure when it's closed, actually does close, exit on close. There we go. Okay, so we've taken care of that. Now we're gonna go ahead and create a J panel that will hold everything together. Okay, so a J panel, I'm gonna cover J panel, main panel. Put here a little bit of comments. Okay, and why not? We're gonna create a font here. So J font, so font. You notice that when we want to create a font object, we don't go and say J font because there's none, right? Font is a total different class that is not just inside of J of the swing classes, right? So it's outside of that. So you can use whenever you are creating application anywhere else, okay? So that's why you won't have a J before the font here. Just a little note. So we're gonna create here grade font. And then we're gonna pass, of course, the name. I'm gonna say, you can pass whatever you want here, but I'm gonna say Helvetica new. Okay, the style, I'm gonna say font dot bold. I want it to be bold. Let's give a size of 21. Why not? Now let's go ahead and create the JText area. Remember the JText, this is where we're gonna create our question, right? This is our question JText area. We now have to instantiate it. So we're gonna say question. So we are now creating the actual text area. Okay, new JText. And of course, we can pass in a few parameters here. We can say pass 6 and 20. So the 6 is the number of rows, and this is the number of columns. So how big this text area is going to be? It's going to be of 6 rows and 20 columns. Okay. Now we're going to set line wrap. So make sure that this set line wrap will allow, if it's true, we'll make sure that whenever our text is too long to fit on what we specified inside of our text area, it will just start on a new line. It'll wrap everything around, okay, to make everything so that it fits. Okay, so we have to pass true to say yes, we want this to happen indeed. So we can do the other things. You can set wrap style word. What does this do? Well, if set to true, the lines will be wrapped at word boundaries, white space. So if they are too long to fit within the allocated width. So we are just formatting our text inside of our text area that we're creating here. So we're gonna say true because we want that to happen. Okay, not a big deal here. Say question dot set font. Now we can just pass our font that we created. Now let's go ahead here, add components. So the first thing we have the frame, right, which is the window where we put everything. But now what we did, we created a main panel, which is just a J panel that will go on top of our frame. Now we want to be able to add a scroll capability, right? We want to make sure that if, let's say, the question or answer is too long, people are able to scroll our text areas. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a J scroll panel, J scroll pane to make so that happens. Okay, so I do realize there's a lot of different new things that I'm throwing at you right now, and this is all on purpose because I figured the best way to learn more about a certain topic is to actually dive in and start coding. As of now, I was able to introduce to you the J panel and a few other properties that we can attach to our text area, such as set line wrap, set run style, set wrap style word, and so forth, right? So that's good because now you're starting to see what you can do. And frankly, you're able to see that there's a lot of things that are available to us. So we say J scroll pane. We're going to say a J scroll. This is for the answer pane is equal to new J scroll. And we're going to pass in the answer. Okay, so now what are we saying here? We're saying, well, we have this J scroll pane, which will allow our answer, which we know here is a text area, to have a scroll. Then let's attach a few other properties. We're going to set vertical scroll bar policy, all right? We're going to pass in scroll constants here and say vertical scroll bar always. Okay. All right. So what's happening here? Well, we're saying, okay, we did this. Now we know that our answer text area will be scrollable, but we also want to make sure this scroll pan here, this answer scroll pan, as we scroll, we want to set it to be vertical, meaning that we don't want. So here's what's happening. So you see what's happening here? So what we're saying now here, just pretend that this is our text area, which essentially is, if you think about it, right? So what we're saying now, we're saying this, as we put text inside of this area here, we want just to have this up and down vertical scrolling, not this left and right. Well, actually, we will have left and right at this point, but next we are going to eliminate this left and right scroll here. So we're going to say AJ that set horizontal. Okay, we're going to scroll policy constants here, that horizontals to never. So now our text area where we will have our answer, it will not be left and right scroll. You just have the vertical scrollability. Hope that made sense. You will see once everything is in one place. Perfect. So we're just setting things up here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create J button here. We're going to create a button that's going to be next card. Okay. So we're going to say J button, next button, new J button. So you know how to create a button. We're going to pass in a title. We're going to say next card. So as we go, let me go ahead at the bottom here, say add components to main panel. This is where we're going to put the logic. But before we do that, let's keep adding more items, controls inside of our user interface here. Okay, we are going to create a few labels here. So we're going to say J label. Okay, we're going to question label. That's the label that we're just going to put. We're going to say question is equal J label. Okay, new J label, and we're going to say question. Okay, we're going to say the same J label. Going to be answer J label, new J label, and this time we are going to say answer. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to say main panel that add. We're going to put first the question label, so Q label. All right, and then we're going to do the same that add. We're going to add the Q scroll panel, right? Because we want to make sure that the first of all. So before that, so we have our answer area. So we did this answer area. Let's go ahead because we want to have a question before the answer, just for organizational purposes. So let's start with the question here. So we're going to do the same because JS scroll pan. We're going to call this question, right? Scroll pan is equal to new. Okay, and we're going to pass in the component here, which is going to be question, right? Not answer. Okay, so essentially we're doing the same thing what we did here at the bottom for the answer. And we're going to go ahead and say Q, J scroll, set vertical. I'm going to say scroll. Okay, this is an error here. It has to be policy, scroll bar policy. There we go. My mistake. There we go. So that looks much better. Put an answer area here. So we're going to say answer. Again, remember answer is our J text. Okay, it's a text area. We're going to just say it's equal to new J text area. And we're going to pass 6 and 20 here. Okay, for the size of the text area. And of course, we're going to set the same thing because we had question. Now we're going to have answer here. Okay, we're going to say answer. So we're setting up a few things inside of our text answer text area where people are going to put the answer. So we're going to say answer dot set line wrap. We're going to say true, right? Formatting thing here. So the same thing we've been doing. And let's give the same font. So let's say answer dot set answer dot font. Set font. I'm going to just passing the. Okay, so now we're probably ready to start adding things to our main panel here. So we can say main panel, add. We're gonna first of all add the question label. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same, that add. We're gonna add the question scroll panel. Okay, so again, what are we doing here? At the top, we're gonna have the part where it says question. Okay, because that's the label here. It's gonna say question, and at the bottom, we're gonna then put the scroll panel, which will have the question text area and everything. Okay, so we are constructing our user interface here. And notice the order is very important too, right? Thing you put at the top, it will be the first thing that's going to be at the top. And then everything below is going to be also below. So that's very important to have this order here. Otherwise, everything's going to be all over the place. So main panel, that add. Okay, we're going to put the answer label now. Okay, it's going to say answer. And of course, we're going to add now the component, the answer scroll panel here. Okay, and let's put a next box, our next button. Sorry. Okay, so there we go. So now here, the way bar, remember, we put everything in our main panel, not necessarily inside of our frame. So we need to put things on our frame here. So how do we do now here? So let's add to the frame. Very important. So we're going to say frame.getContent pane. So we are going to the frame and get the content panel, okay, that inside of our frame. And so we're going to say add component to that. So what are we going to be adding? Well, we have to add a few things here, okay, a few constraints. So we're going to say border layout dot center. So we want to make sure that everything is centered. And the next constraint we're going to put, it's going to be the actual panel that we're adding. So in this case, it's going to be main panel. Okay, so all we're doing here, it may seem complicated. We're saying, okay, we get our frame that we created, the main board, the main window where we're going to put everything. So we get that, and we get the content pane inside of that. And then we add the main panel that we created, which has all of these items inside of, like the labels, the scrolling, and everything else. Okay, and of course, we made sure that it's all centered. Of course, now we're going to go ahead and say frame dot set size. We can set a size, let's say 400. Okay, and height, let's say 500. Why not? Okay, and then remember, we have to set it visible. Set visibility to true. Otherwise, it won't work, as you very well know. Okay, so since we have our invoker here calling our flashcard builder, which incidentally has all of this code that we just wrote, we should have something running here in no time. Okay, let's save this and hope for the best. Let's run this. Whoops, we've got problems. So it says here invalid vertical scroll bar. Okay, flashcard 43. So this one here. Let's see what's going on. Well, it turns out it should be set horizontal, not vertical, because we already did that. That's my bad. So let's say set horizontal. There we go. So if we delete this, that should be good. All right, things happen. Let's run again. And look at that. Look at that. We have it. This is very cool. Now, notice that everything is well aligned, but what if we want to have this answer to the left here and question to the left as well? Certain way. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the width of our canvas, of our window here, of our frame, to see if maybe this question here would actually be to the left here and answer to the left as well. Okay, let's see. Just play around with things, see if it will work. I'm gonna stop this to kill it. So where we set it, let's say here we go ahead and say 500. 500 and 5,000, and we're gonna say 600 here. Save and run again. Perfect, look at that. Now it's starting to look pretty good. All right, so we have it. Look at this. So we have our next button, we have our text answer area here and question, and we have a title and everything. It's looking good. Well, this is a good time to stop, and we'll continue building this application here. So we were able to accomplish a lot here by creating this user interface that, well, right now doesn't do much, but at least you know you can type things here and you can do all these things. If you hit next card, nothing happens, which is okay. We will take care of that in our next video. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.